Hello. We are starting to go live. I'm going to wait for people to jump on. This is always the awkward few couple of minutes where people are coming on. Let me write a message so we can pin it. Hello, everybody coming on board. Mr. Lavage. Let's see here. I am writing a little prompt. I'm going to put this comment up. CARES Act session with me. Let's see. All right, let's do this. Hello, everybody. Writing a comment, pinning it. Here we go. Let's pin that comment. All right. People are joining on. This is always that awkward part of live video where people are jumping on, and I'm going to try to wait for a few amount of people coming on board. Everyone having a good Friday? It's beautiful outside if you're in East Tennessee. A little cold, but it's nice. Right. Getting more people jumping on. So, okay, if you guys have any questions about the CARES Act, Triple P, EIDL, whatever acronym else that's in the bill, just send it over, send a comment, leave a comment here. We're going to try to answer as many questions as humanly possible. At the end of the day, this thing, it seems like people are going left and right. There's just so much information out there that it's hard to keep it all straight. Not a lot of people can talk about it straight. I mean, even myself, when the CARES Act came out, I goofed up a couple things last week. All of us are loading this into our brains, fact-checking, making sure that you guys have the most accurate and up-to-date information as much as possible. Isn't so important. In business, if you can't rely on information, how can you guide yourself towards where you need to go, especially through this time? So we take it seriously, taking it at heart. Now, I got to get a couple of disclaimers out. So look, here, I'm waving at everybody. This is great. So just note that I'm taking over KEC's account. This is not legal advice for KEC. They're not dishing out legal advice. They're not giving compliance advice. This is just me as a licensed attorney, as a part of a firm, Morehouse Legal. We're trying to answer up as many questions on the legislation you guys might have. Ultimately, everything's decided by your relationship with your banker. Ultimately, that's where everything falls. And my job, our duty as people in this business community who care so much about businesses is to make sure that you guys have as much clarity as humanly possible. And know that this thing is evolving every day. This is evolving every day, and we're trying to keep up to it, okay? So just so you guys are fully aware, all right? How to get that little PSA out of the way. All right. Mr. Lavage has a question. Have any small businesses received aid to date? So I haven't heard of any of the entrepreneurs and businesses I work with receiving aid to date. In fact, even the law firm has had a Triple P program, Triple P loan in as of Saturday. Now, I did have, there's a nonprofit that I work with, and they were able to get it at least approved as of Monday, but the loans have not been dispersed. Technically, the 8 weeks of forgiveness starts the first date of disbursement of funds. And that got clarified by the Treasury and the Small Business Administration as of 2 nights ago. They released an FAQ. Native maps. And follow up, Alex, the question on have any loans have been dispersed. So the EIDLs, I still haven't heard of any people receiving the emergency grant from the EIDLs. So right now, I haven't heard of anyone receiving any funds as of yet. Now, I did hear of an individual receiving their stimulus check as of this last Saturday. So everyone's again trying to get money flowing as fast as they can. And the guidance that came out two days ago should help lenders have more confidence in cutting these loans and dispersing the funds. Let's see, Native Maps, question for PPP app. How is my personal payroll calculated as a sole prop? Is it what I withdrew from my account to pay myself, or is it the total profit? That is a great question, David Harmon. David Harmon's in the building. So the way that you calculate payroll costs, if you're a sole prop, you have to take the net earnings of your self-employment income. And that can be either for the year of 2019, or that could be the last 12 months from now. Or if you're new in business, you can take it for the months of this January and February and divide it by 2 to get your monthly payroll costs. So the answer is it's your net profit. It's your net earnings from self-employment. So if you're a business of one, if you're a sole prop, an independent contractor, it's whatever business income you list on your tax minus any business expenses you might have or 1099 payments, or whatever you're left with. So if you made, let's say, $20,000 or $50,000 in the year of 2019, and that's after you paid all your expenses, right? That's how much you took out as a 100% owner. You listed it on your Schedule C on your 1040. That's how much you take divided by 12. You get your monthly. All right, David, let me know if that answered your question, all right? Let's see. If it didn't, I could go into more clarity. I am waving at everybody. Thank you guys for coming on. Just trying to get as many questions answered. Even if you guys are pretty clear on the Triple P, the EIDL, the CARES Act, you guys might have friends or know other business owners that need the help, that need the clarity. I had a friend who moved out to Washington, and they sent me a Facebook message screenshotting this one person saying, just railing on the program, railing that I'm the single member of an LLC and I can't get access to Triple P, and that was totally wrong. And unfortunately, that person all the way across the country didn't have the right information. I am so invested in making sure this area, Knoxville, East Tennessee, and beyond, though, more the merrier, but at least we're all equipped with the knowledge and the resources to make sure our businesses are going, that we have business continuity, and we can get through this thing. All right, looking for any questions. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, anything about the CARES Act, anything, until I get more comments, I'll just be giving brief overviews. So, okay, I've been posting in stories. I'm sure everyone knows by this point what the Triple P means. A lot of people still aren't getting the EIDLs exactly right. So I want to break that out. EIDL stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. All right, so EIDL, you have to apply through SBA.gov. If you go through my profile, you'll see my link tree. And in it, I have a bunch of helpful links, including Tennessee unemployment, including SBA, the EIDL application, even the form for the Triple P. So the EIDL is an Economic Injury Disaster Loan. You go through the SBA. Sure, you start the loan process. The online form takes 5 minutes to fill out for the most part. Now, when you do that, it asks you how many employees you have. By the way, that whole term of how many employees you have as a sole prop or as an independent contractor is incredibly misleading. And there's no guidance that we've seen yet defining what employee means. So if you're one person, I recommend putting one person down on that EIDL application. Now, when you go through it, you have now submitted your loan for the disaster relief. Now you're eligible to get up to $10,000 in an emergency grant as issued by the CARES Act. Now, that part, we haven't heard any entrepreneurs getting funds yet. But just so I can better make you guys understand this, that the $10,000, it's not a loan. It's an emergency grant. You don't have to pay back. They're not going to give you a $10,000 check if you don't have 10 employees. It's going to be $1,000 per employee up to $10,000 in grant money. And again, we haven't heard any entrepreneurs receive those funds yet. And I'm kind of afraid that they're going to wait to issue any of those funds until the Triple Ps stand up. So this is very fluid still. Okay, got a couple of questions. Alex Lavish, is there a rush to apply? In other words, if I have clients that wait to apply until later, will it be too late? Will the money run out? That is a real risk. That is a really real risk. Get your application in. If you're considering it, or if you have clients, or if you know people that are considering it, this is the unfortunate part. Put it in as soon as you can, even though it's going to burden the system. Put it in as soon as you can, because the way it is, once you put the application in, the way that you get your 8 weeks forgiveness, it happens, that 8 weeks clock starts the day you get your money from your bank. And it has to be 8 weeks before June 30th. In other words, if you get your loan approved and you get your proceeds June 1, you will only have 5 weeks of forgiveness max. So that's why everyone's encouraged to put in their application early. Also, every bank is rushing through trying to process their loans. Also, Congress has put, and this is more to your question, Alex, Congress has put $349 billion into the PPP loans. Congress also then allocated $10 billion to the EIDLs. 349 versus 10, big difference. And so the EIDL emergency grants will likely run out. The PPP loans will likely run out. Bank of America had issued a statement to the Treasury Department saying that if we process every of the loans that we have gotten, we're going to cap out the entire program, and we're just one lender. So you guys might have seen this in legislation where there are people that are trying to put more money into that program. We'll wait and see. That's going to be an ever-evolving. But Alex, get your application in as soon as possible, and I think you have, get your clients to do so. Native Maps. On the PPP, when they ask for total loan amount, it's monthly payroll times 2.5 minus EIDL. But if we haven't received, okay, David, that's a great question. So Native Maps is saying on the PPP application, the formula, you have to subtract anything you're asking. You have to subtract your EIDL funds. Now here's the thing. If you have not been awarded any EIDL funds, it's a big goose egg. So mark 0 for EIDL. Got it? So Native Maps, your calculation should be all of that, but with EIDL as 0, because you haven't received any funds yet. If you have, then take those funds and swap it, right? Let me know if that makes sense. Let's see. Sarah M. Caffrey. Thank you. Thanks for joining in. You can certainly apply for both. I recommend you apply for both if you can, because once you file for the PPP, once you bring that application to your bank, and if you get approved, if you had the EIDL, that gets rolled and refinanced in the PPP. So you're not paying 2 loans. This is the whole design of the program. The EIDLs get rolled into PPP. And remember, PPP loans are very favorable. They're 2-year, 1% interest, non-recourse, no personal guarantee, no collateral. And you got to use at least 75% of the loan to get 8 weeks forgiven, 75% of the loan on payroll costs, okay, on retaining employees. But, Sarah, I think that answers your question. So you can certainly apply for both. I recommend that you apply for both. Let's see. Doesn't mean you'll get them, but put your application in. And as of today, the reason why Casey and I decided for me to do the takeover today, April 10th, is when individuals, consultants, anyone reporting Schedule C income, including if you get a K-1 from a partnership, you can file for your PPP in today, okay? Last Friday was for smaller businesses with payrolls that weren't necessarily one owner or one employee. So if you're a gigger, if you're a consultant, if you're self-employed, and it's only you can put your application in today with your bank. Now, the caveat, not all banks are ready to take that. Banks are spinning up their portal, their online portals. And so what you're going to see, today's the soonest that self-employed individuals and consultants can apply for PPP, but you're going to see this roll out the next couple of days. That's what we saw last week. Banks were even working around the clock over the weekend, last weekend, to get these portals up and running to take your applications. It is the same application that you used for last Friday for this Friday. It's the same application. The Treasury Department updated it, and then what's going to likely happen, your bank's going to have their version of it, and it's not dissimilar. It's almost the same thing, if not the same thing. Let's see. Wild Baba has a question. Do I use total gross pay or the net pay of my employees when applying for PPP loan? Okay, so it's the total gross. Okay, so it's if one of your employees is getting $3,000 a month, okay, and then after tax, right, their net is like $2,500. Okay, so let's break this down. So your employee gets $3,000 a month. They pay $500 a month in taxes. So then they take home $2,500. As the employer, you just care about the $3,000 mark. Okay. Now, the employer side payroll taxes can be deferred, right? But the employee, it has nothing to do with your calculations. So whatever gross pay to your employees, that's what you work into. So, Lal Baba, let me know if that answered your question, all right? Let's see. You got it, David. You got it. Opal Design Shop has a question. Can you apply for Triple P as a self-employed individual? Yes, you can. And that starts today. If you download the new form, again, I have all these helpful links in my profile account. You'll see a link tree. Tap it. You'll see a bunch of different links. And you'll also see the Triple P application, the updated one the Treasury Department put out. Yes, if you're a self-employed individual, you can apply for a Triple P. Absolutely 100%. Sarah M. McCaffrey. Good. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. Thanks again, guys, for being a part of this and for submitting your questions, sending them over, going through updates. Last week, I had a conversation with the leadership of a local bank. I was able to talk to the president and the chief loan officer, and they had a lot of great information. This was April 6th, so it feels like forever ago, but it really wasn't. And they highly encourage, because at first I was saying, okay, so let's recommend a lot of clients over, let's recommend a lot of people over to this one bank. These are really doing a good job communicating. But remember, banks, they have to prioritize their customers first because of a regulation of an act called Know Your Client or Know Your Customer, KYC. And because of that, they have to prioritize their current customers because they can go through those loan applications much faster. Now, what's interesting, 2 days ago, the SBA and the Treasury Department issued an FAQ, and it's a little unclear as to whether they might be saying that banks don't have to go through that KYC process. But banks still have to comply with this 1970 piece of legislation called BSA. So it's an ever-evolving thing. What the federal government's trying to do is speed the banks up, speed them up, so we can go through as many loans as possible. So it might get better in the next few days, and that's all of our hopes. Let's see. Lal Baba, my small business is a C Corp one. Will it make a difference? Okay, so Lal Baba, this is important to note. If you're a C Corp, that means you've been getting a payroll, likely, because any corporations, they get taxed individually. And so then how you get paid as an owner is either through dividends or through a payroll, usually both, all right, usually a salary. You could have actually started applying as of last Friday if you had a payroll. So Lal Baba, look into that. See, just put your application in. It doesn't make a difference. You can totally do it. If you get a salary as a C Corp, as the owner of the C Corp, you could have put your application a week ago. So get on it, all right? Lal Baba, leave a comment if you have any clarifications on that. Let's see. Shantae Swain. I hope I got that right. My profile. So if you go to _HQ, you'll see the Linktree link there, and it has a whole bunch of helpful links. Let's see. Feral Giant. Jody, any update on how unemployment is being handled for sole proprietors? Okay, that's a great question. So from what I understand, I'm changing gears. Unemployment should be available to individuals that are seeking employment, and CARES Act allows unemployment to also go towards self-employed individuals and consultants. This is how you've heard a lot of the news about gig workers, right? About people who are literally paying the bills by working for DoorDash and Uber and Shipt, right? So gig economists, gig workers, they're totally allowed in this. And part of that is being self-employed. They're self-employed, right? So not only can they put in a triple P loan in today, but they can also sign up for unemployment is the way I read it. The unemployment benefits, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA, okay? Governor Lee announced earlier this week that the state of Tennessee will participate in the program, which is very good. Big shout out to China Bakeen for being really a big advocate amongst all of us people on social media. Big shout out to all the various mayors, including Mayor Concannon. Everyone's voiced their opinion to Governor Lee, saying this is wrong. Participate in PUA. What that means, if you file for unemployment under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA, you'll be able to get an extra $600 a week until June 30th in unemployment benefits from the state of Tennessee. So, Jody, just to totally, get you that clear answer, if you're a sole proprietor, you can, from the way that I understand it, and check with the Department of Labor and Workforce in the state of Tennessee, but the way I understand it, you should be able to get your PUA, which means a $600 a week check until June 30th, okay? And I'm pretty sure, so in my link tree, in my profile, _HQ, you'll see that I've got a link to Department of Workforce and Labor's Twitter feed. It's actually really good. A lot of great updates in there. And they've got an update for if you're a self-employed individual or consultant, how you actually go through and file unemployment. All right? So you most certainly can. All right, let's see. Heather the Realtor, we got a question. If you are classified as essential business at the moment, are you still able to apply if your business has been affected? That's a great question. And sorry, I'm talking long. I'm going to take a sip out of my coffee. Okay, here's the qualification. So if the economic conditions make it, if the uncertain economic conditions put into your current operations, if you're afraid of keeping your business going in the face of current economic conditions, you are allowed to apply for the PPP loan. So long story short, I was trying to recite the exact phrasing in my head, but this is a long story short. If you are affected by the pandemic, if you are affected by the economic condition, the uncertain economic condition that we all live in now, okay? Even if you're essential, if you're highly affected, right? So let's think about Target, right? Target is essential. Lowe's and Home Depot, that's a different example, but Target's, they might see a drop in revenue. They could still apply for now they're not a small business, there are a couple other things. I was just trying to pull out a different example. But if you're an essential business, it doesn't matter if you're negatively affected by the economic conditions being so uncertain, you can file for a PPP loan, okay? So Heather the Realtor, I stumbled through my answer, but did that get you answered? Let me know in the comments. Native Maps, is there a scenario where you would apply for EIDL, PPP, or I did for PPP and unemployment? Yes, you can totally do that. Self-employed individuals can file for a PPP loan today. They can also file for unemployment. Again, because the state of Tennessee is participating in the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, and that gets you unemployment at least $600 a week until June 30th. EIDL is like a bolt-on to all that, all right? And so much so that, as you mentioned, David, Native Maps, when you're filing for the PPP, EIDL is part of the calculation. So, succinct answer, yes, there is a scenario where sole proprietors, where independent contractors and consultants can apply for both EIDL and the PPP, and they can also file for unemployment. Lal Baba, my bank here in Knoxville starts taking an application as of yesterday, applying today. Good, great, go apply. Lal Baba, if you don't mind putting the name of your bank, if you don't care to, that'd be great. I'm trying to collect as much data and resources as much as possible. Rachel Travis Illustrations has a question. What about a partnership setup? If you have a partnership setup and you get a K1 every tax year, you can start filing your PPP today, okay? And what that means, any Schedule C income that you have, I'm not an accountant, but this is as much as I know as a lawyer, right, who's also had businesses before. If you have Schedule C income through the partnership, you can apply using that number, your net earnings from self-employment, okay, that's the technical term, divide that for your monthly net earnings from self-employment, multiply it by 2.5, that's how much money you can get. But Rachel Travis Illustrations, if you are in a partnership setup, you can most certainly apply for a PPP. Lal Baba, do I use the info for 2019? What about this year? That's a great question. The PPP. So the Treasury and SBA issued formal guidance 2 nights ago, and this is exactly how your calculations can run. You can either use your 2019 numbers. It's really a lot easier if you just go ahead and file your 2019 taxes and then use your 2019 numbers. That's really easy because it's all tax documents. The lender's not going to look at it and question it, all right? So I do recommend, if you can, use tax documents because it should speed up your process. Now, you might not have that luxury. It's okay. So you can either use 2019 numbers to calculate your payroll costs or net earnings, okay? You can use either that or the last 12 months starting from today or whenever you apply. So if you use the last 12 months, right? So from last April to this April. Or if you weren't in business for all of 2019, you can use February and January of this year. Divide it by 2, you get your monthly. Or if you're a seasonal business, there's another way you can calculate it where you can take your net earnings from last February 15 or March 1 to June 30th, use that number for how much your number would be for this year. So there's 4 ways you can calculate your net earnings and calculate what numbers you use. It's not just 2019. It's pretty flexible. The one thing that I sort of fear from a policy standpoint, because there's so many different options of how to calculate it, does that put extra burden on the lenders so then would our applications take longer? But the good thing is that lenders are instructed that they're going to sort of sniff through your application, but pretty much it's on the borrower. It's on you filling the application out to get it right. If you got something accidentally wrong, you'll have to pay any money back. Now, the good thing is there really is less chance to get that. All the banks are super interested in making sure you get your applications right. So these worksheets are trying to be as accurate as possible. All right. If anyone tries to defraud the program, there's a whole set of penalties and criminal charges there. We won't get down that road, right? Because that's not any one of us. Let's see. Lal Baba, First Horizon, thank you. I've been hearing good things about First Horizon in this. I've been hearing good things about Home Federal. I've been hearing good things about Pinnacle. I've been hearing good things about Citizens. I've been hearing good things about a United Community. That's what we're going through. Let's see. Heather Realtor, yes, you're welcome. I'm glad you got your answer question. That is the name of the game. If you guys have any questions or concerns or doubts, this is the time. Let's get it all figured out. Because the worst thing, right, is to just not know, and then every day you're waking up trying to work on your business. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea how to feel. Our businesses are an extension of who we are, and we got to make sure that we get as many facts and we feel as good as we possibly can about how we're going to go in the future. So that makes me super happy. Heather the Realtor, if you have any more questions, let me know. Let's see. Lal Baba, what is the max that can be applied for PPP? Okay, so those are the calculations I was going through. I'll keep it very brief, okay? It's technically your average monthly payroll costs times 2.5, okay? And how you determine your average monthly payroll costs is a couple different ways like I was outlining. And so I do air quotes because it's a defined term in the legislation. In other words, you don't have to have payroll to have payroll costs, right? You don't have to have payroll. If you're a business of one and you pay yourself, then that means any money that you net made, any net profit you made off of self-employment, that's your payroll costs. You divide it by 12 to get your average monthly payroll costs, right? Okay, Lal Baba, let me know if that answered your question. All right. Take a sip of my coffee here. Okay, so I think it's important to talk about the loan forgiveness aspect to all of this. But before we do that, just so you guys fully are aware, so last Thursday night, not this week, but last week, thank you, Al Baba, you got it. Last Thursday night, SBA issued final guidance, and a lot of questions got answered. And so there are a couple things that you guys should really note. I've got a couple random thoughts. I'm getting pulled in different directions. Let me just pick with the one that's coming to my head. If anyone's killing it here and they made more than $100,000 in net earnings, right, you can actually still apply for PPP, but it's only the first $100,000 of your net earnings, okay? Now, I'm personally not too ecstatic about that decision, that rulemaking, and I'll go into those policy concerns later, but that's just a fact. And so, it's up to your first $100,000. And so that means if you have a payroll and someone's getting paid at least $100,000, you can still include their payroll into your calculations, but just the first $100,000. Okay. One other guidance that, let's go through the list. So I've got, welcome to my life for the last 10 days, 2 weeks. I've been just going through legislation, and it's been actually pretty interesting to go through. I was reading the Senate bill that had came out, the Senate, before it even got passed into law, so I've been studying this pretty carefully. So, okay. What can you use the PPP loans for? Here's specifically what you have to use the loans for. You have to use the loans for payroll costs, which if you're self-employed, that includes what you're paying yourself, okay? And then payroll to employees. That also includes sick, medical, any kind of paid leave, okay? But you can also spend it on rent, mortgage, utilities, all for the business, not your personal mortgage, not your personal rent, but the share for the business. So if you're an individual and you're working out of your studio apartment, whatever's allocated towards that business, you'd be able to claim on this safely. Is again, a lot of the calculations go really from your tax documents. So you can use it on rent, mortgage, lease obligations, and then you can use it on paying any interest of any debts by the business, okay? So let's say you got a business credit card. Any interest that's accruing on that, you can't pay your whole tab, but you can pay the interest with the PPP loan. Now, for the loan forgiveness, in order to qualify for the full 8 weeks of the PPP loan forgiveness, you have to spend at least 75% of your loan, your PPP loan, on payroll costs. That means that you only have 25% left for your rent, utilities, mortgage, that kind of thing. All right. Also, another requirement to make sure you get the full 8 weeks of loan forgiveness, you can't reduce your wages any more than 25%. So if you have a payroll, right, of employees and you're trying to conserve cash, right, you can decrease everyone's wage to conserve cash, but it cannot be more than 25%. Otherwise, you're not going to be eligible for the full loan forgiveness. And the other thing, this is what really people are latching onto, rightfully so, and Baba, I see you, I'm going to answer that question, is that they take your employee head count, okay, as of April 26th, maybe 27th, and they compare that head count all the way up to June 30th. And if the head count is the same, of full-time equivalent employees, that includes part-time, full-time, wage, salary. If it includes all, in the case of self-employment, that includes you, right? So if it might be 1-to-1, then you're eligible to get the full loan forgiveness of 8 weeks. Again, that's how we all understand it right now. That might change as weeks progress, but right now, that's what the guidance says. Law Baba, I applied for the EID 10K loan. I got a confirmation number. Okay, so Law Baba, I just want to make sure this is very clear that 10K is not a loan. That is an emergency grant that's not repayable. You applied for a disaster loan. You might get up to $10,000 in emergency grant funds that's not repayable, meaning it's just free cash in your pocket, right? Because it's a disaster loan. But more to your question, do you need to do anything else for that loan? No, you don't. You'll be contacted by your appropriate Small Business Administration Development Center, I think, or SBDC, for more additional information. I think Native Maps had that experience recently too. Let's see. Hope that answered your question. Let me know if it did. So again, going through as much as we possibly can with the CARES Act, today is a really important milestone. If you're self-employed, if you're a consultant, you can now put in your PPP loan in today, even if you're a business of one. Even if you're part-timing for Uber and Lyft and Shipt, like you can go get a PPP loan for yourself. Payroll costs are a defined term. It's not just if you have a payroll of employees. It's actually also including your net earnings from self-employment income. Okay? So remember, today's a very, very important day. As of today, banks are starting to allow individuals and self-employed individuals and consultants to apply for a PPP loan. And look, we all might be hesitant of loans and debts, but right now, we gotta stay liquid. We have to have enough cash to pay our business bills. We have to. And if you're a self-employed individual, you've got to cover your rent. You've got to cover, basic things to your business. You got to pay yourself so you can do more business later, right? So liquidity, cash, it matters. And if you do the PPP right, you can also get up to 8 weeks forgiven. And so what's left is not much. And then it's a 2-year, 1% interest loan. There's non-recourse. They can't come after you, but you can, and you don't have to make your first payment until 6 months from when you have the funds issued, which is fantastic. The original law didn't say that. It said anyone directly hit by the pandemic, if you're a restaurant, hospitality, if you have an NAICS code of 72, then you can defer. But no, the guidance says, as of last week, that if you apply for a PPP, you don't have to make any payments for 6 months. So this is a great program. in my opinion, this is a great piece of legislation. The execution's been a little botched, and I'm not particularly happy about that as a private individual and a member of the community. But we got to stay patient because this could be a good way of liquidity. Now, I've talked to a few accountants about all this. It's easy to think that your only options are these pandemic relief packages, these CARES Act packages. They're not. Remember, banks have other financial products. And so if you don't qualify for a triple P, okay, or if you don't feel comfortable, or if you don't understand it, or if your bank doesn't offer a triple P loan yet, a lot of people are hitting me up saying, my bank doesn't even have it right now. Be patient. But ask them, what other finance instruments do they have? What other financial products do they have to get you and your business through this? If you believe in your business, all right, look, I teach entrepreneurship at Haseeb at the Department of Management and Entrepreneurship, and I tell my students this, and I'm telling everybody this. If you believe in your business, then find ways to get enough cash to keep you going so that you can stand to make more money and do what you need to do and do what you want to do, right? If this business is really what you're all in. Now, if you think that you need money to survive, you need money to keep your business going, and you don't think there are ways to, I've ran into some entrepreneurs, and we haven't had to have these talks yet, but if you weren't feeling good about your business before the pandemic, this is a good time to reflect. Is this a business that you want to pursue through and post? What I've been encouraging everyone is to look at your business model. Look at your business model right now and tinker. This is the time to tinker. If you wanted to take that marketing chance, if you wanted to take that new product development chance, see what you can do right now. I've got clients that are re-innovating their marketing materials and re-innovating their tech stack. And, this is the time to innovate and to be creative and to make your business better. And there's really two ways to look at this. Either looking at it saying that you're done, or looking at it saying that this could be an opportunity. And I know it's very hard, and cash is still an issue. So that's my little spiel. That's my little rant on that part. That there are a lot of ways you can get cash in your pocket. It's not just through the CARES Act programs, although they're fantastic in my view. Okay. Now, we haven't talked about this, but if anyone here is a nonprofit or social enterprise, you can also apply. As long as you're a 501c3, you can apply for a triple P loan, okay? So that's a pretty important distinction too. If you're not a 501c3, you're not eligible. There are some other issues about that, but contact me if you have any more direct questions. Okay, what other questions do we got? Any other questions that we can answer right now? Let's see, I'm going to go through the feed and see what we got. So who here has, let's see. So has anyone here not submitted a triple P loan in? Let me know. Has anyone reached out to a bank and their bank says we're not offering it right now? Let me know. I'm really curious about what's going on with that, with the status. I almost feel like we're at this point of, we've had so much. There's so much talk about this. We're kind of done with it. So I want to get your feedback on that. Okay, let me think about other important aspects that people should know. So there's a little bit of current updates. Recently there's talk about the Treasury. Let's see, Law Baba, you have not yet. Put your application in. Highly recommend it. That's good. Thanks for letting me know. So, recent updates. The Treasury Department's making headlines now. Let's see. Feral Giant. I have not. My bank is a credit union and they're not. Oh, man. So, anyone here, if your bank isn't participating, I've heard that potentially Kabbage, KABBAGE.com, might be offering small business loans and triple P loans. So, look into that. For a couple of business, so for a business that I have a business checking account with a company called Azlo, AZLO, and they're basically this online bank. They partner with other big banks, one particularly in Alabama, and I got an email saying that I could potentially apply for a triple P loan with Kabbage. So I recommend you guys to look into that. Heather the Realtor, I've been waiting for more clarification. You're welcome. Absolutely. Sometimes it's weird. I've been pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I've never really gone live as much as I have, make as many videos as many as I have in the last 2 weeks. But you know, it's weird. Like I'm talking just to myself. So your comments, guys, are like oxygen. It's like your comments keep me going. It keeps it engaged and stimulating. Let's see. So a couple of updates. The Treasury Department's making headlines because they might be issuing a $600 billion package. Now, they have something called a Main Street loan. Just so you guys know, and I've looked into this as of today, the Main Street loan, the minimum size of the loan is $1 million. So just if you don't think you can take $1 million loan, right, then don't worry about what's happening with the Treasury Department in the current events. It's white noise. It doesn't apply to you. Okay, that's all I want you guys to know. Let's see. La Baba. First Horizon has an initial application only asking about the business name and the amount asked for. Yep. So La Baba, I've seen Bank of America do that too. I had a business owner here that submitted through Bank of America, and then they had submitted, they had brought back all these application forms for the entrepreneur to fill out. So absolutely. Okay. What other questions do we have, guys? We've been going for a straight 42 minutes. Let me see. Okay, let's go through some basics. Triple Ps. So when you file for your Triple P loan, your payroll costs, they do not include 1099 payments. Okay? The concept is that independent contractors and 1099 contractors, right, they can file for their own Triple P. So just so you guys know, when you calculate payroll costs, if you are paying a lot of independent contractors, you unfortunately cannot roll that into your payroll cost calculation. Okay? So that's a very important distinction. Also, if you're self-employed, this is so important. If you are self-employed and you have employees, you can take your payroll cost to your employees and your net earnings from self-employment and together make what would be your average monthly payroll cost. So the Triple P loan really does incorporate a lot of different businesses, a lot of different aspects to it. Okay? If anyone has any more detailed questions about the calculations, look at my Linktree in _HQ, my profile. You'll see my Linktree. You open that up. There's a bunch of helpful links. And in one of them is the Triple P application by the Treasury Department, and there's a calculator there. All right? If you have any questions, hit me up. All right, guys, we have like 5 to 15 minutes, about more, right? If anyone has any questions. Okay, La Baba. Again, how do we calculate the payroll cost? Okay, so there's a couple ways to do that. If this is how you do it. La Baba, are you self-employed with any employees? Or are you self-employed with like some employees, no employees? How does that look like? Is that depends on the calculation. Again, this is _HQ. This is Haseeb Qureshi. I go by HQ. It's a lot easier. It's my moniker at this point. It's a lot easier to say HQ than Haseeb Qureshi. And I've kind of owned it. So if you guys have any questions, I'm a licensed attorney. I care about businesses. I've been on your end. You know, I want to help you guys as much as possible. Thank you for Knox EC for having me, for the Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. Thank you for the city of Knoxville for blasting this out. Our time's almost up. Let's see. Okay, C Corp with employees. That's right. All right, La Baba. So this is what you do. You take your payroll costs that you pay for employees. Okay? So go through QuickBooks, go through your 941s, your IRS tax forms, right? How much did you spend on payroll? Okay? This is without federal employer tax, right? Or employer side payroll tax. This is just what are the wages that you paid your employees? All right? Let's see. You have a restaurant with so many part-time employees. Okay, I get that. So take all of your payroll costs to your part-time and your full-times, okay? And then any income you have made as your net earnings, your net profit from self-employment, all right? So if it's a C Corp, you're either getting paid via salary or dividend. But whatever your income was from self-employment, as long as it's up to $100,000, you add all that together, right? So whatever you spent over the year, whatever you made in a year, you add it together, okay? Remember, what you spent on people and what you made from self-employment, you add them together for the year, you divide it by 12, all right? And the reason why we're getting average monthly payroll costs. Okay? You get a paycheck? So the easiest way is roll your paycheck in with everyone else's, your total payroll costs. Okay? Divide it, your annual payroll costs, divide it by 12. Okay? So you get your average monthly payroll cost, and you multiply that by 2.5. That is the maximum PPP loan you can get. Okay? So if your payroll cost, your average monthly payroll cost was $20,000, times it by 2.5, you can get a loan, a triple P loan up to $50K. All right? Law Bible, let me know if that made sense. Let's see. Craig, Courtney, thanks for coming in. If you guys have a question, drop it in. We've got about 10 more minutes of this. Trying to bring as much value. 10 more minutes of the live session. I'm still running the NoxEC Instagram for the rest of the day and trying to answer as many questions. It's a lot easier when I get questions and comments back so I can respond. Because that's the whole point of this. It's trying to get you guys information and the right facts as much and as soon as possible. We have Bear Accounting. Aaron, welcome to the live. Aaron Reese, Accounting. Let's see. Okay, any other questions you guys might have? I can pick something and go into more detail, and I might do that. Hey, Aaron. Okay, let's see. Well, Baba, thank you for my pink cup. This actually means a whole lot to me because one of my businesses that I worked on was a music tech startup called Audio Hand, and I learned a whole lot. And one of my team members, Jana, shout out to Jana, I still use this cup like every day. The team surprised me with this very special mug, and at that time, the color of the app was this color. So anyway, this is my favorite. It's my favorite, one of my favorite mugs. Let's see. How have you been investing in yourself business-wise during quarantine? Hey, that's a cool question. And Aaron, and I see your question. I'll get back to that. Okay, let's see. Wow, okay, we got some questions here. This is great. Let's see. Okay, the Heights UT, I'll answer that question in a second. Let me get to the hard questions first. Let's see, Bear Accounting. Can you talk about any new guidance today regarding self-employed? Okay, there really isn't any new guidance for self-employed individuals. Pretty much that has been steadfast. The SBA and the Treasury Department issued new guidance 2 nights ago, and it clarified a couple of questions, all of which we've kind of already known for the most part. The best thing, so my guidance to self-employed today is that anyone who has their own business, anyone who reports any self-employment income on their Schedule C, right? If you have a business, you can apply at least today, starting today, depends on your bank, how they're rolling it out, but you can put in your triple P loan, okay? And so if you're a business of one, then whatever your net earnings were, right, that works into your payroll cost definition, and you can take out a loan, a triple P loan. The triple P loans are extremely flexible, and they're meant to employ you, okay? If you're a business of one, then you can use the triple P loan proceeds to hire and retain you. And so that would be part of the loan forgiveness. So that goes right into Larson's MB, oh my God, sorry, I'm butchering, Larson SMBTN. Oh, sorry, let me go back to Bear Accounting. So if 2019 was their first year of the business and they haven't filed a 2019 return yet. Okay, so if the business has not filed the 2019 return yet, the guidance literally says that you can just show up, you can submit your QuickBooks accounts, just get a chart of accounts, prove what your expenses were for the year. All right, so here's my top line, here's like a net income statement, all right, something like that. Because the way the guidance works as of last Thursday, the way the guidance works is that the lenders are kind of off the hook for verifying all the pieces of information. The borrower, anyone taking the loan, has to self-certify that this is how much net income I made. So Aaron at Bear Accounting, so I want you to know, so if there's no taxes filed, you can use your QuickBooks statements. I would imagine an income statement, and as much information as you possibly can. Keep it organized for the banks. Try to make the lives easier. They're getting swamped. So try to provide as much information as possible so they don't reject your loan. But yeah, you got it. Absolutely. Let's see. Larson, SMBTN, have you heard about loan forgiveness for self-employed? Trying to figure out how this thing is going to work even if they don't have a profit over the 60 days. Okay, Larson, so I'm trying to figure out your 60 days aspect. Where did the 60 days come from? Are you talking about the 8 weeks forgiveness? Is that what you're talking about? So let me make this really clear. So there are two things here. First, your net profit, all right, if you're self-employed, you look at either 2019 or last 12 months or a seasonal calculation or February and January of this year, how much money did you make net, and figure out then your average monthly net earnings, which basically gets turned into payroll costs under the law. Okay, so you've got how much loan you can apply for, right? Your average monthly payroll cost times 2.5. That's how much of a loan you can take. Now, shove that to that side. That's over here, right? Loan forgiveness. The loan forgiveness, all you have to do is spend the PPP loan at least 75% on your payroll costs. And if you do that over a period of 8 weeks, you do not reduce your wages by more than 25%, okay, which this really wouldn't apply. And then if you keep your employee headcount or your full-time equivalent headcount, in other words, if you're self-employed, right, once you get the loan, you got the maximum amount. Once you get your funds dispersed from your bank, it starts the 8-week time. You just have to show proof that that money was getting spent on payroll costs, i.e. Paying you, right? So that might look, if it's an LLC, that might look like a distribution. If you're a C Corp or you'd be reporting salary in that case. Or if you're a sole proprietor, just showing maybe bank account statements or just voided out checks on that you're paying yourself, right? But then as long as you prove, over 8 weeks you were spending at least 75% of the loan onto payroll costs, you should have it all forgiven, even if you're self-employed. Now, I say all this with a caveat. That is what the guidance says right now. That is what all the administration and agencies are saying right now. That may change, right? So that's what we know right now. I would go with that. Let's see here. Okay. Bear Accounting. As a single member LLC, would it just be 2.5 times the monthly draw account, or would expenses are included? So, okay. So, Bear Accounting. It's not your owner's draw that you got it, Larson. Absolutely. Bear Accounting, it's not necessarily that it's going to be 2.5 times your monthly draw. Okay, that's the easy way to kind of finagle it, but it's your entire net income, right? For your average, it's technically your average monthly payroll costs. If I had to translate that for a self-employed individual, one business, single member LLC, then really it's your average monthly net earnings. Okay, so it wouldn't necessarily, because it depends also, this is why I'm getting really particular as a lawyer. You can take a distribution out, and technically the operating agreement should say, or if you don't have one under the state of Tennessee, it should say that you can't take a distribution out unless you have enough money to cover it, right? Now, what if your capital accounts go negative, right? So that's why I'm saying I'm not going to rely on the owner's draw. That's not really the metric here. Plus, a financial institution is going to want to see your entire P&L. All right, they're just going to want to see your P&L and see how much money were you making. Okay, so Bear Accounting, let me know if that clarified that statement. Let's see, going back up to the Heights UT. How have I been investing in myself business-wise during quarantine? Oh, you got it, Bear Accounting. Absolutely. So I really appreciate that question. So I'm generally an optimistic kind of guy, and I just kind of view the world as either things are great or things are terrible. And then, in any case, you either have control over it or you don't. So the way that I've been investing in myself business-wise during quarantine, really taking every day as an opportunity to tinker, to experiment, to just get out of my comfort zone and just understand, all right, we have a brand new set of rules. So how do we operate in this set of rules? I've never done as many Instagram lives and video posts and posting ever before in my life. And I'm finding a lot of joy and happiness from it. I actually feel so connected with folks. and business owners right now because I'm just taking the time to reach out and putting myself out there. So I would say the best way that I've been investing in myself business-wise is to just dig deep, figure out what I really want to do, what I want to accomplish, what's bothered me before the pandemic hit, right? And then just making sure that you allot time. So the way that I invest in myself business-wise, I make sure that I wake up anywhere between 7:30 and 9. That's what I was doing before pandemic hit. So I make sure that I wake up, make sure I shower, I make sure that I'm fully dressed as if I'm going to work like I normally do. And look, we're, at the firm, we're a total remote firm. We have a physical office, but I rarely go. And I only go if it's Thursdays, because Thursdays we have Taste of Thai, Pad Thai Thursdays. And that's a chance for all of us at the firm to kind of get together and share and learn and just be together, right? So I'm usually just working by myself anyway, or I'm out at coffee shops. But, we still all have the same amount of time in the day. And we all still have the ambitions that we want. And we all still have stuff in here that sometimes you don't know how to vocalize. So I've also been trying to figure out what's in here, how do I vocalize it, how do I show it into action, how do I be the husband and the family member that I want to be? Because in my view, it's not just your business is separate from who you are individually, all of it's stitched together. All of it comes together. And if any part of that identity is thrown off, you're not performing at your peak. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm not at my peak. Right now, I'm a massive extrovert because I have to, because I'm doing a takeover for the whole day. I totally have my introvert times. And so if I had to criticize myself for one thing, though, I could be a little better about investing in my introvert self at times. And I'm trying to get better about that. I'm trying to find really private times where I'm just feeding my curiosity. I'm not working for anyone. I mean, I love helping as many people as possible. And then I'm like, okay, have I neglected myself? So if I had to say how I'm investing myself business-wise, it's actually just trying to make myself better person-wise by being mindful, having a regimen, a strict practice, but also giving myself flexibility. Because, I'm a lawyer. I get to work full-time remote wherever I want. I'm very thankful, and I'm counting my blessings on that one. My wife, Sarah, she's a school teacher, and right now they're not in school, although they're starting to record some content right now. And yeah, I agree, Aaron, right? Booth is a part of the firm. Booth Andrews is a part of the Morehouse legal team, and she's amazing. She's such a good positive influence in all of us, and she constantly reminds us to take care of ourselves, and we're all works in progress, and she reminds us of that too. So big shout out to Booth Andrews. She's awesome. My wife's a school teacher. She's recording some content. I got 1 minute and 50 seconds left. And so I just want to say thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'm going to be on this Instagram account for the rest of the day still. If you have any questions, send us your questions. I'll get you answered either at KnoxEC here or at my personal account _HQ, right? And just so thankful for you guys' attention. Please be careful. Please be safe. Please stay optimistic. And just if you need to blow off some steam, safely blow off some steam. Please socially distance. It's incredibly important. Please be kind to each other. Please just be the best person you possibly can. And if you can't do that, if it feels too much, just take one thing at a time. Just find one thing in your day that can make you really happy, or it could, and just do it without thinking about, well, what about the next 2 or 3 or 10 things? Just find any way to keep going. And if you find yourself as an operator or a business confused as to where to go, remember, the businesses that are marketing in this time are going to win after this. We don't know how our lives are going to change. We have no idea. After we come through this pandemic, everything's changed forever. And so don't take anything for granted. Still get your awareness out there. Thank you again so much for your time and attention. I'm here to answer any questions. I got to end the live now. And so stay safe, stay optimistic, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye, guys.